I came to the city looking for a job when my friend insisted that I stay at his house. He asked me to look after his mother while he left to study abroad. As soon as he left, his mother's behavior towards me began to change. She often called me to her room. One day, she made up a false excuse, saying she was very scared, and invited me to her room. That night, while I was sleeping next to her, she suddenly stroked my head and said in a different tone, "Mayhan, I didn't know boys your age were so mature and smart." Saying this, she took my hand. Hello, friends. Welcome to today's unique story. My name is Mayhan. I had just arrived in the city for work. I informed my friend Vikas of my arrival. Vikas was my friend from social media. Our friendship was digital but very deep. As soon as I arrived in the city, Vikas picked me up at the station and took me straight to his house. As soon as I approached Vikas's house, my eyes fell on a beautiful woman, and I thought she was Vikas's sister. Then Vikas cleared up my misunderstanding and said, "Mayhan, this is not my sister. This is my mother." His mother looked so breathtakingly graceful and youthful that I mistook her for his sister. She looked like a young girl. I had never seen her before, so my confusion was natural. I was very happy to meet Vikas that day. After lunch, I was about to leave because I needed to find a place to stay. I said I had work and was going to leave. Vikas stopped me. He said, "Mayhan, why are you looking for a hostel and things like that? When you have your own home, you can live here." I asked, "In my home?" Vikas replied, "My friend, you made me a stranger so quickly. I may be a city dweller, but I also know how to maintain friendships. Listen, there are only me and my mother in this house. You will be able to settle down comfortably here. In any case, I am leaving abroad for a few years to continue my studies, so my mother will need someone to take care of her. After I leave, you must take care of my mother just like I do." I was touched by Vikas's words because he didn't consider me a stranger, but treated me like family. Supporting Vikas's words, his mother said, "Yes, Mayhan, Vikas is absolutely right. My son Vikas is going abroad, so why can't another son stay with me? God sent you here at the right time. Does this mean God wanted you to stay here with me?" Her insistence became so strong that I couldn't refuse. 2 days later, Vikas left for abroad. After his departure, I was left alone at home with his mother. Considering the circumstances at home, I immediately found a job. Back in 22, I gave up the idea of further studies and got a job to earn money. I didn't have enough money for my studies, so I decided to work. I found a decent job in the city. Vikas was lucky enough to get the opportunity to study abroad at age 22. Well, having said that, I stopped blaming fate. From that day on, I started living with Vikas's mother, treating her with the utmost respect like my own mother. But she seemed to harbor unexpected and subtle affection towards me, which I didn't notice at first, but gradually began to realize. That evening, she cooked my favorite dish for the two of us. She said, "I learned about some of your likes and dislikes from your social media. You wrote in your bio that you love Maharashtrian cuisine." She seemed to take my preferences deeply into account. That evening, when we were having dinner, she came and sat right beside me. She gently placed a flatbread on my plate. After finishing dinner, I started helping her clear the table and collect the cutlery. Seeing my help, she remarked softly, "You are such a perfect boy. I heard Vikas praise you many times, and since then I really wanted to meet you. There is a huge difference between you and Vikas. Vikas never helps around the house. On the contrary, he is a master at scattering things around." Listening to funny stories about Vikas, I laughed. She suddenly quieted down, her demeanor shifting. I thought she might be missing Vikas, so I put my hand on her shoulder and said, "Auntie, if you miss Vikas, I will call him right away. Don't be so sad." Then she placed her hand over mine and whispered, "I know very well that Vikas hasn't left abroad forever. I don't want to sit idly in his absence, but I will be with him." Suddenly I was lost in thought, trying to decipher her meaning. She added, "I was thinking how wonderful you are. If you keep impressing me like this again and again, what will happen to me? Don't impress me like this, otherwise it will be hard for you to handle me." Saying this, she took the plate from my hands and walked into the kitchen. I stood in the exact same spot for a while, completely mesmerized and puzzled by her words. Gradually, her charm and beauty began to leave a lasting impression on me. She woke up early every morning and practiced yoga. When I saw her during her morning routine, I understood the secret behind her youthful appearance. One day, she asked me to come home early from work because she needed to go shopping at the local market and wanted me to help her carry the bags. That same day after lunch, I took half a day off and returned home. Upon arrival, I rang the doorbell several times, but no sound came from inside. Perhaps the bell wasn't working properly. I unlocked the main door with the spare key I had and stepped inside. I didn't see anyone in the hallway. Then I heard the sound of splashing water coming from her room. I thought water might be running from another tap in the house, because even after asking me to come home early, she was nowhere to be seen. Who knows how long the water had been running wasted. To prevent any further water waste, I headed toward the sound. Following the noise, I reached the bathroom inside her room. I reached out to open the door, but it was already unlatched from the inside. I saw her standing there, completely soaked from top to bottom. Thin streams of water were cascading down from her wet hair onto her face. I stood frozen for a few moments, captivated by her stunning appearance. I was so mesmerized by her beauty that I temporarily lost my composure. When I heard the door click shut, I snapped back to reality. I realized she had closed the bathroom door again. Flustered, I went out and sat in the hallway. After a while, she stepped into the hallway dressed neatly and asked me, "Mayhan, did you come to my room? Why did you come? There is no water issue in your room." I replied that I hadn't heard her answer, so I assumed she hadn't returned home yet, and only came over when I heard running water. She smiled faintly and said, "Well, what happened a little while ago was just a misunderstanding. I left my sandals by the door, so you probably didn't notice I was home. Go wash up, and we'll head out." After a short while, we both got ready and left our rooms to go to the market. She was dressed in simple attire, yet she looked remarkably elegant. Looking at her, I felt as if I was experiencing such captivating beauty in a woman for the very first time. Even at that moment, I found it hard to look away. She came over, gently stroked my hair, and said, "Mayhan, what are you thinking so deeply about? Hurry up." Hearing her words, I came back to my senses and went to the market with her. As soon as she sat behind me on the motorcycle, she placed both hands comfortably on my shoulders. I rode around, taking her wherever she needed to go. After returning home, she gently patted my face and said, "The title perfect man suits you very well, because you really are so dependable. You never gave me a single reason to complain. You took me wherever I needed to go, which helped me finish shopping quickly. Otherwise, your friend Vikas just drops me off at one shop, and I have to walk to other places while he sits in the car. But you carried all my heavy bags and escorted me everywhere, saving me so much time." Then she patted my back and playfully pinched my cheek. Everything happened so naturally, yet it left a deep mark on my heart. The way she praised me began to bring me genuine happiness. I stood there, lost in thought. Meanwhile, she reappeared in a beautiful new outfit, stood in front of me, and asked, "How do I look in this?" I replied, "You look very beautiful, but the dress seems a bit loose at the back." She smiled. "Maybe I didn't tie the ribbon in the back properly, Mayhan. Could you help me tie it?" I stepped closer to help her, and while I was tying the ribbon, a wave of affection passed through me as I brushed against the delicate fabric. I completed the task without saying a word. The next day, as she prepared for work, she wore another stunning outfit. Dressed up so elegantly, her beauty shone even brighter. That day she told me, "Just like you took half a day off for me yesterday, take a few hours today and come with me to my office." She didn't explain the reason behind taking me along. When we arrived and entered her workplace floor, she held my hand firmly. I couldn't understand her unusual behavior. Many colleagues in her office stared at us with curious and questionable eyes. She didn't look old at all, but I couldn't comprehend why she insisted on taking me into her professional space. She led me not just through her floor, but straight into her boss's private office. Her boss looked at us with a strange, suspicious glare. She introduced me to the boss proudly, saying, "This is my Mayhan." Who introduces someone like that? After the introduction, she escorted me outside and asked me to head back. Standing in her office building, I couldn't ask her any questions. When I returned home in the evening, her demeanor felt slightly mysterious. As soon as we stepped inside, she embraced me warmly and said, "You helped me immensely today." While we were discussing the office visit, a sudden, loud clap of thunder echoed through the sky. The sharp noise startled her, and she hugged me tightly out of fear. At that moment, her embrace felt entirely different and intimate. When the thunder subsided, she pulled back slightly, stroked my face gently, and said, "It's so good that you returned home early. Look, the heavy rain started right after you arrived." She began showing deep care for my well-being, and I began to appreciate her affection, though a hint of curiosity remained in my mind. At that moment, she stood at the doorway gazing eagerly at the pouring rain, hesitant to step outside. From her expression, I could tell she longed to feel the raindrops. I took her hand and gently led her out into the open courtyard. Though initially hesitant, she smiled and let me persuade her to enjoy the downpour. Seeing the pure joy on her face as the rain washed over her made me happy too. I was confused by the evolving emotions I felt toward her. She danced in the rain like a scene straight out of a classic movie. She twirled around me, laughing, holding my hand, and trying to dance alongside me. Then she looked into my eyes and said, "Mayhan, you are so different. Today, getting drenched in the rain with you, I feel like the leading actress in a romance film, and you are my hero." She spoke these words lightheartedly, but they left a powerful impact on my mind. Once we stepped back inside, she quickly brought me a towel and helped dry my damp hair. As I was drying my clothes, our eyes locked, and she looked at me with immense warmth and fondness. She murmured, "Mayhan, Vikas never spoke to me the way you do. He was always buried in his studies." Hearing this reference, I finally asked her directly, "Auntie, why did you introduce me to your boss as my Mayhan? What did that mean?" Upon hearing my question, her expression froze, and she quietly walked away without answering. Later that night, while I was resting in my room, she called me over to hers. She said nervously, "I feel very anxious and scared tonight. Can you please stay in my room tonight?" Wanting to comfort her, I agreed to sleep in her room. As the night grew quiet, a subtle feeling lingered as if someone was watching us from afar. My eyes kept shifting between the closed door and the window. Before drifting off, I glanced at her, only to find her gazing back at me. She asked softly, "Why, Mayhan? Aren't you asleep yet?" I replied, "I feel like someone is spying on this room." She whispered, "I have been feeling the exact same thing, which is why I couldn't sleep. Maybe it's just my imagination." Saying this, she rested her hand on my shoulder and closed her eyes. A short while later, the room lights suddenly switched on, and a sharp voice shouted, "Mom!" The sudden noise startled both of us awake. Standing right in front of us was Vikas. He stared at us with anger and disgust, saying, "Mom, what on earth are you doing?" And Mayhan, my friend, I never expected such betrayal from you. I feel ashamed to even address her as my mother. I immediately stood up and addressed Vikas. "Vikas, don't jump to conclusions without knowing the truth. Auntie was terrified of being alone tonight, so she asked me to stay here." The way she reached out was purely out of fear, not betrayal. But Vikas ignored my explanation and began hurling harsh accusations against his mother's character. Listening to his prepared words, it became clear that his return wasn't an unexpected surprise, but a deliberate plan. I confronted him. "Vikas, how can you accuse your own mother so bitterly over a misunderstanding? You seem to be venting bottled-up anger from something else. Tell me truthfully, were you ever really going abroad? How did you suddenly show up here?" Vikas sneered. "I couldn't go abroad because my mother refused to give me enough money. Since she wouldn't fund me, I went to borrow money from uncle. I kept it a secret from mother that day. But when I met Uncle, he revealed things about my mother that opened my eyes. He told me he had seen my mother walking around town with another man multiple times. I believed him instantly. Even after father passed away, she always dressed up elegantly, and I never understood who she was trying to impress. That day, Uncle made me suspicious, so I devised a plan to spy on her. Right around that time, you were planning to move to the city. As part of my strategy, I lied to you about going abroad and forced you to stay with my mother. I knew her negative influence would eventually trap you too. I saw everything happening between you two. Mayhan, I don't blame you entirely. The real culprit is my mother and her questionable intentions. You just fell for her act. When Vikas finally stopped shouting, I looked at him calmly and said, "Now that you've publicly humiliated your mother, are you satisfied? If you have any more poisonous thoughts, speak them now, because after today, you won't get a chance." I continued firmly, "Vikas, you spied on us, but you only saw what your biased mind wanted to see. Let me tell you the truth. She brought me to her office because her new boss was constantly harassing her, and she needed to show him that she had a strong, protective family member standing by her side. She used my presence to intimidate her boss and defend her honor. And even tonight, when she held my hand, it was because in her lonely moments, she saw a supportive son in me, the kind of support you failed to provide. If you had taken the time to understand your mother instead of blindly believing gossip from relatives, you would never have uttered such cruel words." I looked at Vikas and added, "Over the past few days, I realized how deeply lonely she truly was. Despite raising a son, she sacrificed her youth and chose never to remarry just to protect your future. She dedicated her life to you, but when it was your turn to take responsibility and care for her, you abandoned her emotional needs, locked yourself in your own world, and prioritized a relative's lies over your mother's sacrifices." As I spoke, she placed her hand gently on my shoulder, tears streaming down her face. She looked at Vikas and said softly, "Mayhan has the maturity and wisdom that you sadly lack, Vikas, because I spoiled you and gave you everything without letting you struggle. But today, you repaid years of my silent sacrifices with insults. Your uncle lied to you to drive a wedge between us. Before asking him for financial help, I had gone to him to demand your rightful share of your late father's property, but he greedily refused. I even threatened legal action against him. Everything I did, fighting your uncle, saving money, was solely to secure your future and send you to a top university. But I never imagined my own son would turn against me so easily. Is this how you repay a mother's love?" Hearing her heart-wrenching words, Vikas froze. The reality of his mistake hit him hard. He realized he had been manipulated by his greedy uncle and had wrongly accused both his innocent mother and his loyal friend. Overwhelmed with guilt and remorse, Vikas broke down in tears, fell to his knees, and begged his mother for forgiveness. Being a mother, her heart melted, and she embraced her son, forgiving him instantly. After clearing the air, Vikas earnestly begged me to continue staying with them. However, I politely declined, knowing that mother and son needed private space to heal their bond and rebuild trust. Vikas finally recognized his mother's strength, honesty, and the immense battles she fought alone to protect his future. Growing up in poverty, I learned early on the value of hard work and respect. Today, many parents instantly fulfill every demand of their children, making them entitled. When parents fail to fulfill a single wish due to financial hardship, children often respond with anger and disrespect. To build a healthy generation, parents must learn to say no occasionally, and children must understand the relentless effort and sacrifice behind every comfort provided to them. Only through understanding and empathy can the true value of love, relationships, and hard work be preserved. Thank you for reading today's emotional story. What are your thoughts on this situation? Please share your perspective in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story and want to hear more engaging life journeys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Until tomorrow, stay blessed and take care.